Good morning, everybody. I hope last night, I think most of you may got sufficient sleep, so that on my talk, we will not go sleep. If among the audience, you see, show this way, then my enthusiasm also lose. The audience fully alert, attentive, then my sort of enthusiasm also then come. So now today, Kasadi.
Ancient wisdom and modern world. Now is consideration.
Ancient wisdom.
Modern world.
So ancient wisdom and
modern world.
Modern world, in modern world. That's my favorite sort of subject. As I briefly mentioned yesterday also, it's a world in spite a lot of material development and technology, science, these things. But the emotional level, we really passing through some kind of emotional crisis. So in that respect, prayer, like myself, Buddhist, I think few hours meditation and prayer, but prayer bring short period peace, very useful, but not necessarily long, so there's a long period. And also in the terms of society, community, humanity, I don't think prayer much useful. Right? Not much useful, I don't think. Right? So the important is individual oneself. See, trying to bring inner peace. That the knowledge about emotion, about mind, and also I think a knowledge about reality. So these things very important. So I respect all different religious traditions. Among my friends, wonderful human being, among the Christian, among the Jews, among Hindus, among Muslims, and so on. So that shows all major religious traditions have same potential to bring a sensible human being, peaceful human being, compassionate human being. And most of the major religious traditions, their main emphasis, pray to God or to Allah or to different, say the names of Supreme Creator. But in this country, over 3,000 years, you see, it developed training our mind in this country. beside prayer, just training with fuller knowledge about mind, about emotion. So we call the shamatha, single-pointed meditation, and vipassana, analytical meditation. In this country, over 3,000 years, you see these practice develop. So now that today's world, I really feel whether believer or non-believer, training of mind is very relevant. As yesterday I mentioned, the hygiene of physical important. Similarly, hygiene of emotion is very, very important. So now, in that respect, Indian tradition, very, very, relevant. So as I mentioned yesterday also, the ancient Indian knowledge, not only ancient one, but also very relevant to today's world. And then, again, is India's tradition over, I think, several thousand years, the concept of secular. You see, training of our mind, not necessarily be religious believer. So whether believer or non-believer, training of mind is something relevant. So therefore, I think 1,000 years, India's tradition of secular. In the West, some my friend, when I used the word the secular, some my friend, some Muslim, some Christian, they suggest to me this word not something suitable, because secular means in the West, you see, it brings some kind of sense, disrespect religion and distance from religion. It is understandable. I think during French Revolution and Bolshevik Revolution, I think both cases, there is some tendency to against religion. But that actually, we should make distinction. Religion or teaching of religion or dharma, that's love, forgiveness, tolerance. See, even animal very much appreciate love. Nobody can against love. Then there's some sort of tendency to against religion is actually religious institution. So religious institution, unfortunately, sometimes it seems religious institution pay more attention about money, power. So religious institution not remain, I think, pure religious institution, but economy, power, and including sometimes politics like that. So therefore, like French Revolution, I think, and Bolshevik, both cases, religious institution, very close link with feudal authority. And the feudal authority seeks some support from God. So God invisible. So they simply, you see, use religious leader. So therefore, you know, when revolution starts, against the existing, or say the institution which very much exploiting working class people, poor people, since they use there's some special right due to God's blessing. So we need some kind of enthusiasm, even to God, willing to against. So we should make distinction, religious institution and religion itself. So in any way, in the West, the word of secular is a little sort of uncomfortable. Some of my friends, as I mentioned earlier, mentioning me. Whereas in this country, secular means respect all religions and also respect non-believer. They say, like Chavaka, nihilism. So the different sort of also the spiritual tradition, the school of thought, they criticize Chavaka, nihilism, but they refer people who hold that view called Rishi, means because of sage. So there is clear indication. The theoretical level argue, criticize, but person who hold that nihilism respect. So that's in India's tradition. They respect non-believer or radical Kasuta, atheist. Respect. So that's, I think because of this country, so many different philosophical views there. Even within Nalanda tradition, there are different philosophical views. So quite often, debate, argue, but with respect. I think that's, one India's greatness. So therefore, the secular concept, I think, very relevant to today's world. I think, as I mentioned yesterday, out of 7 billion, 1 billion non-believer, very clear. So these non-believer also human brothers, sisters, they also want happy life, peace of mind. So they should learn these things in order to create happy life, happy individual. Not talking about next life or heaven, just simply how to make happy, peaceful, joyful person. Like that. So then, India's wisdom.
Ancient wisdom.
Wisdom. And modern world, as I mentioned briefly, is in these ancient Indian knowledge, I think very practical, very realistic. So, still relevant to today's world. Of course, I think Muslim population on this planet around, I think, billion. And Christian as well. Hindu. Few years ago, when I discussed some Indian, my friend, they say Hindu 600 million. Then Buddhist about 300 millions. So together, less than 100,000, less than billion. So these also the people follow this religious tradition. They truly found benefit to their daily life. particularly when they are passing through difficult situation beyond their sort of effort
control, beyond their control. No.
Beyond their control. Then still we need hope. So they believe God, religion, keep hope. So very useful. Like that. So I think one simple example, when small child, when they face some sort of shocking sort of situation, whether their mother there or not, they simply say, "Ma, ma, ma." So that, you see, since childhood, you see, mother is the dearest and the closest. So like that, you see, when passing through some difficulties, it's just, oh God, oh God, oh God, oh Allah, 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 like that. So that provides us basis of hope. So some useful. And then more important is all major religious tradition, as I mentioned yesterday, religion of human being. So therefore, all these different religious traditions carry the message of human good, also the quality, human value. That's human love. Now more, a philosophical or deeper, complicated sort of matter. My English not sufficient. So I am going to speak Tibetan. Then he will translate. Occasionally, I may use my broken English. Jahaliyada Pajer law the Chalupami say your that they are Kanshita. Karakani mene law Pajer Tonta Kasha Kone, Semcom Ripu called Tona Chik Chatua. The Rigatone any Chigi. That's Semcom Ripu to share in the Tagiladi, Chigs Rogers of Kugi windows and any Chuluk. Kunjo Dramender to Shadiach. Any Richigi, Tappen, Sajiti, change, or the Nel deal of Judo, because that Lopez Donta Kashagone, Changjima Chungyari, and Sautang children better, any person. Yandekan, Luim to that, Chalkanda, Tejum Sijus Latin, Buddhism, Luntada, so on the city, Changjim Peshingashurisha. Shane Tangjengi, Shishin Shuzanga, Namsha Shed. Loa. And so, because Jizo Sajita, the Jugan Didi, Namjun Raman, the Tanyong and the Jizo Che, the Didu Nyong and the Dashi Kibushe, Dini with the Tandam Debache, studied the Kuzo Debache, those shake of the one. So some of the because that's steady. That didn't mind it, a motivation, Dramenda, the Wangushari. That Tangjan or Tangjan Harjeba, Hamibus Nishan, Tangjan Harjebe, Chikobo Shed, Tangjan Hamibe, Jikobo Mendibri. Tation do Chisu in it, Tichumbre, Jibuba. Jibube, any Chikobo Mendibrisha. Teacher Sanjay Chuchumari, Jikobo Mendibrisha. Teachunzi, the Saul Tomaya Maris, Jikobo Satuko Maris, Saul, yeah, Tomaya Maris. Certainly, the Sane, Tomama Yondish. The Gobo Chiki Satuko came a check. The Rigatone, any Kiawamango, Ziondash, Kiawa Tomabeva, or the Pagitangel Hamiba, Pagiti Shagari, and Jibuba Savasharisha. and Dishu Sanjeva Churu, or the Tiki, the sauce Lanendra, Sems, Travis Sems, the Sems Lanendra, Kanda, Tomova Cheviori. So the need to go Guamdoa. So Taco, G. Less Sangel than any Joa Sangan not so yonder to set it to.
So in India, there was this tradition where there was a belief in people living infinite number of years, kind of whatever the case may be. What the Indians have done is that they have taken interest in learning or knowing about our human psychology or emotions. And so since there was this need for people to keep their hope in something they could actually believe in, and therefore what happened was there was this idea of believing in some kind of a God, a creator, whom they can keep their hope in. And so within the Indian philosophical tradition, there was, according to some Buddhist scripture, it mentions that Sankhya school of philosophy evolved first, and then maybe it evolved a few thousand years ago. And then from there, many different strands of Hindu philosophy also emerged. And so the Sankhya school believed in what is known as the 25 objects of knowledge. And within this, one is called the primal factor, or pradhan. And from the pradhan, it is believed that the rest of the evolutes, emerged, the 24 evolutes, as they call it. And so what this shows is that in Indian tradition, there was a lot of thinking and critical thinking that has gone into this kind of philosophical traditions. And because of this critical thinking, these different philosophical traditions emerged. And then within the Sankhya school, we have two sub-schools, one believing in the creator God, and the other one not believing in the creator God. And within this, the second, regarding those who
God
don't
as
believe,
a creator.
Within the Indian philosophical system, there are three schools which didn't believe in a creator God, and which are the non-theistic Sankhya school, Jainism, and Buddhism. And the reason why these three schools don't believe in a God as a creator is because of believing in the beginningless, life, that there is no beginning to life. Even though they don't really believe in a creator God, they do still assert that there is life going on. And so based on that, then there was this belief in the reincarnation. So we have, when beings have taken rebirth many times. And so this is based on whether it's called a soul or a consciousness. This principle is the basis on which this reincarnation is explained. And then on top of that, why we take rebirth in samsara is because of karma as well.
Sanjebe, ene, da seati. Kasamos kishon so, pumbule ten shenbe, dekji rang da, di mindubre. Da seati, pumbunga la tenne, taksam jishiyore. Dole, chidriyana, chonang la, tenne shingda jeba dar, tishin pumbun nam tenne, kunzo semchen jeba yin, seni, duksiyadua. 저장하다 모두게 아니 다 풍불에 된 셴베다 다지 지전에 그 토마베만에 막 유댕해지기 디땡네 아니 겨왕것이 라라워시 셔터도가 다 산제베 된저게 다디 mende버리 와나 겨왕같이 참정에 건드렸으나 남시 멤버 남시기 년내 멤버 시간 좁스네 다셔다도 쪼데리샤 아니 다가나 풍부게 나네 수기 풍부 처야 풍부 대든 대등하게 처야 풍부를 써버려서 돼야지 거라 지치그래도 다가나 풍부든 대등하게 공에 씹어들이 지치그래도 다고 일로디 가서 계시는 시리 세디그 네거기 일로 아니 밀은 거 네거기 일로 아니 니 투부코 네거기 일로 아니 치워 뭔도 주베 네거라 아니 레베 차리지 마 저에서 다 가서 레베 다 가서 차서 brain dead then no longer those consciousness which is related with brain no longer there then the very very subtle level of consciousness still there as I briefly mentioned yesterday also. So now on that basis there are young children who clearly express past memory about past life. I think at least I think around 10 I met one Vidyaloke, one girl. Many years ago I met her memory about past life so clear. Then another girl in Kanpur, also very, very clear memory about past life. So then, one Tibetan boy born in Lhasa. So then that boy insists, this is not my place in India. That boy insists. Then eventually reach Dharamsala. When with parent and the son come to Dharamsala, the son still say, this is not my place. My place is South India. So eventually reach Mount God and Gandhan monastery. The boy say, oh, that's my place. Then that young boy, you see, led the parent and one room in the monastery. Then finally the boy say, this is my room. And then he also expressed my glass in that box and open, yes, one glass there. So such things, in memory, I think many years ago, one American professor, I think, carried some research. So about 100 cases or something he mentioned. So like that. So the Kyangama Chayachi Unida, Tengiorva, Taco Ratrachi on that. So that you can just words, no? And it took you on at Dani Yamari. The Ilugan Rory. The Ilulia Tara Monkuchi Shayuntua. The Ilu Rakoti, Lever Tendeveri, Lever Tendevati, Lever to chart and gas in Bechela, Ilu Chad Diarmado, Ilu Rakoti, Gasarota. Then on the Namdinalia, any Nikyang Chituyalia, J. Lugi in Shiva Juchigors and Chisum, but Chevmato, Leve shifted the to the Bandachara Shubakula, Pajiyamarvata. So the Sudan never took Quarisha. Tarikashi, Shiva Jigdaman Mukuchi, Lever Hangtoni, Yungi, Leve Change was to Shivuj self shadow. Then Shivuji ships how Dominic Ganta cow. She color consumption Leve Chita, so never. And the leve chow dear, Pensu Jig Jig, Jane Yong Jig, the Shago. Chazang 남전나라 양치 장변바 남시들 되는 요버리사 디 가야기 디 도스 밤셰브시샤 라바리샤 디 천리고 레벨 천리고시 아주 개셔비나 딩안저디 가서 내지 담버디디 시라 14오메가 소시도 다다 레벨 천리고저 드셔야 되는 아주 신과 백해침부터 간다 타르 도나 다가나 셰바 디 코 가다 조조이바 아주 통되게 뇽되게 하래 조조야기 최지 인신자라 조조야디 친중기 그러나 조라고지를 때는 조조기 예배 용기하래 라베 메타고사들이 라베 메타고는 용 토야디 차에 메타고스 예배 인상 라베 메타고는 용을 종을다 제사가 라베 메타고는 친중기 줄을 떼고 요래데 차에 메타고 기지기지 지르야 돼 기지 줄랑 깨버려 마도 친중기 줄을 떼야 말해 지금 친중기 줄을 메도스 지라마에 아니 선이 계속 시스잖아 그래도 기지기지 지부터 시행면도가 다 너도의 현실이 기지기지든 지켜야돼 다 차에 메타버렸다 데 쉬우지 계속 시행이야 자상가 기지기지기 직루기 기지기지기 직루기 여버시 인도산에 직버때 기지기 규개버렸어 다 규요데 세우셔야고도 다 규들이야 아니 뭐고 가다 가는이네 데부티 정신 집어를 지긴 데부티 가서 딱 모르는 중행기 규칙 디 교도야라 gen칭의 규칙 다年龄 교도 현지식의 교수 니시도 자다 시베年龄 교도 시인도산에 시바코를 리트브 지고네 과라마도 리그메트 지기 배나 뒤체 뒤처럼 펜부지기 시베 年龄 제도 말봐 펜부 年龄 교로 뒤처럼 그 펜부지고를 마도 시베 年龄 규칙문도 자상 속 시바가서 들으려면 그도네 아니 시절은 늦지도 되면지 늦지를 속 시바 되면 늦지는 숨지 아주 샤잉도 와 어다 드르테디 그 기지기 규기 연도 年龄 규지다 현지신이 있어야 또 샤고도 자상 어다 시바 차야간에 도 상당 연도 아니 그 年龄 규지 매나 그 시바 세리 명성 그 등이 쳐지는 그 주신 말에 된지기다 등이 쳐지 요야 年龄 규지 그 직접 거래 디샤 연도 남시 멤버 남시기 年龄 멤버 치안 조사고 딱딱한 로티도 다디 시바라고 가는시는 또 레버던 제딩에 레버 가부터 시진 가줘야 소리 다 시바 참여가는 마도 신상 담배이나 아니 어디 김진티 딱딱한 로딩에 수도 아무래가 내가한테 생각을 느끼지 중하디 그 말아서 도스 니린이도 삼로 담배이나 지금 삼던데 그게 시바코라도 직 남도로 직계에 견전이 아니 룰이야 직 소면달이야지 연구도 왔어 내가 뭔지 룰이야 직다 교치배 견전이 시베 소면달 연구도 왔어 민들게서 러이 뒤에 서스도사 제대 요 초고 말을 쳤다 가다 시바티 류기다 샤샤지를 때네 아니 용어를 맞동고 수도 시바스 용말했어 다 더리게서 brain specialist now they begin to feel there is something which affect our brain those people who have some deeper experience to meditate few hours then brain activities some change
we're talking about neuroplasticity
that you see they change consciousness mind the particle
neurons
neurons they used to say change, some change. So now, the later part of 20th century, at the beginning of the 21st century, now some scientists, open-minded scientists, now they begin to feel, oh, there is something like that. So,
So in Buddhism, there is a rejection of a permanent, single or unitary and autonomous self, which may be termed as a soul in other traditions. But then if such a permanent and unitary autonomous self is not there, how do you actually explain there is a self? And therefore in Buddhism, what is said is a self or a person is designated on the basis of his or her psychophysical aggregates, these 5 skandhas as they're called. And in a sutra, in fact, it is said that just as a chariot is designated on the parts, on its parts, likewise a person is designated on a person's psychophysical aggregates. And so there is this rejection of such a self, which is permanent, single, and autonomous. If that self is rejected, then as it is asserted in non-Buddhist traditions, then how do we talk about the rebirth and so forth? And so Master Dharmakirti in his Pramanavartika Karika says, something which is not a consciousness cannot serve as a substantial cause of consciousness. And so with regard to consciousness, of course, there are the different degrees of subtlety as well, such as consciousness in waking state, in dream state, and then deep sleep state, and then and finally the subtlest consciousness, of course, is that of the consciousness at the time of dying. And so that at that point of time in someone's life, what has happened is the brain. There is also already the brain that happened, and so at that point the brain is not working at all. But then still the subtle consciousness remains in the body, and so on the basis of this understanding of the consciousness in Indian schools of thought, there is this explanation of past and future lives. And so His Holiness was talking about the people having clear memory of their past lives, such as those girls in Patiala and Kanpur. And in fact, one American, I think a psychologist or someone by the name of Ian Stevenson has done research on rebirth, with scientific proof. And so what the fact that people are able to remember something shows that there is a memory of past life. And so even though there's rejection, we don't believe or assert a permanent, single, and autonomous self on the basis of this mental consciousness. And in fact, after brain death, there is this subtle consciousness still in the body. And therefore, although in Pramanavartika Karika, there is rejection of the Indian other schools of thought who kind of believe that consciousness emerges from the body and so forth. There's rejection of such thesis. It seems that those rejections of the positions of the other schools that are given in the Pramanavartika Karika seems to be quite at a very kind of a primitive or coarse level of rejecting that the body cannot serve as a cause for the consciousness. Because if we look at modern science,
when at the time of Dignac and the Dharmakirti, the scientific sort of knowledge about very detailed about the brain, not yet developed. So it's in their way to argue there is no sort of continuation of consciousness. So they argue, they're from Buddhist side, quite rough. So when I read some of these old texts, then I felt now we need some addition, because the modern brain specialists, they have much deeper knowledge, the connection, consciousness and brain, different part of brain. So their knowledge quite remarkable. So therefore, we need some kasota nabejayachi.
Nice. So we need to take this information from modern science. And so Islam was talking about the scientific explanation of the brain's working of the brain. How the brain works is that it works with the networks of neurons, which is very complex and not as easy to reject as it was done in the Pramanavartika Karika, and therefore we need to understand the modern scientific explanation of the function of brain and its neurons and networks of neurons and so forth. And so what we're trying to get at also is that things change, of course. When we talk about rebirth and so forth, it shows that things are changing. And with regard to this impermanence, there is a coarser level of understanding impermanence as in the case of something breaking abruptly, and which is kind of a coarser impermanence. But when something breaks or something breaks down, what it shows is that there is a subtle change with moment by moment change in the thing itself. And so that change, of course, it's not doesn't happen abruptly, but it changes moment to moment. It takes time, which shows that that which is brought about by certain cause is subject to disintegration. And so that disintegration of the thing,
subtle impermanence, now atomic sort of level, we can clearly sort of see the momentarily changing, always moving, never stand still. So that's the physical level. The consciousness level also momentarily changing.
And so that change, momentary change, happens because of the cause which has brought about that thing. And so it is not something that happens after the cause has given rise to the effect as such. Whereby a third entity or third agent comes in.
그래서 진이 계속시도 두스바한 중도가 그런 내외 국어로 직시기도가 다 너들의 인식이 깨지게 지고 왔을 때 전에 그 쉬우지 삼담에 따라도.
So within the Buddhist philosophical system, there is the philosophical school of the Vaibhashikas. And so Vaibhashikas, for them, for something to disintegrate, what they say is long. Yes. In Abhidhamma Kosha Karika by Master Vasubandhu, it mentions that according to the Vaibhashikas, when things come into being, and then they remain or subsist, and then there is a decay, and then finally disintegration. So there is some kind of an idea that things come into being and then stays on. And so the fact that things disintegrate is because of that, the third factor, which is the decay and so forth. Whereas, this is a very rough understanding of how things change. According to the other schools of thought, such as Sutrantikas, what they say is things change momentarily, moment by moment. And so nothing stays static at all. And so the moment something comes into being, it is bound to disintegrate. So that's that's the subtle understanding of subtle impermanence. And then, therefore, what we have to understand is that for things to change, what it shows is that when things change, what it shows is that it is dependent on some cause. And so with regard to the cause, there are basically two main causes, which are called the substantial cause, the basic material, which brings about the thing, and then the called contributing conditions or cooperative conditions. And so with regards to the first cause, which is the substantial cause, what we need to understand is that things arise from a thing which is similar to, in type of to that thing. And so even with regard to the consciousness, in order for consciousness to arise, there must be a previous moment of consciousness, which is the substantial cause of the consciousness at this moment. And then just as it is the case with the subtle particles, and so the subtle particles come from the previous moment of subtle particles, and the subtle particles do not have a substantial cause, that of a consciousness. Neither do the consciousness have any substantial cause, which is a particle. And so when we study Buddhist logic primers, we also do have these categorization of things, things which are called functioning things, as they're called, into three categories, such as the form or matter and consciousness, and then there's a third category called demenduce, which is to say non-associated. No. So this third category is called non-associated compositional factors. And so to give an example of this, when we talked about things changing moment by moment, so that fact of changing moment by moment itself, it comes under this category. And so it is something that is happening, that is an object of knowledge. It's not consciousness as such. It is neither, nor it is a matter as such, or form or physical things. But since it is there, it exists when it comes under this category. And so when we talk about the subtle consciousness, the subtle consciousness, of course, like that moment of consciousness at the time of dying, for example, it cannot arise without there being a substantial cause, which is similar in type to it. And therefore, we talk about the continuity of consciousness on the basis of that kind of understanding of subtle consciousness. And so Master Dharmakirti's statement saying that something which is not a consciousness cannot serve as a substantial cause of consciousness as such. And because of that, he's able to prove that there is consciousness which has come from the past and continuing into the future and so forth. And so once I was having a discussion with scientists in America, American scientists, and I mentioned that when nothing else is happening to you, but you are sitting still, and while you are calmly sitting still, isn't there in this kind of experience where you can actually affect your emotion just by
some
thinking?
Thought, some memory, moment, some change, physical level. So usually some change, physical level, then the mental level, some change.
Affected.
So sometimes without any physical sort of thing, just thought come, make differences. So I asked some doctor, according to our daily experience, it seems something like that also there. So they say, it looks like that, but should not.
Yes. So this American doctor said that it seems possible that we could affect our body just by thinking our thoughts. But this cannot be so.
Then here, one sort of story. One occasion in Japan, one Japanese Nobel laureate about brain or something. So he do not believe beside brain, say the consciousness, nothing there. Meantime, when I met him a few weeks ago, his son passed away. So much worry. So if that worry just related with the brain, then I think that part of brain should operate. Then no longer any worry. I felt that. Of course, I didn't mention, but I felt that. Everything due to brain, we can identify the worry come from that part of brain, then operate, surgery, operate, remove that, then no longer any worry. That's how it's
No.
Oh. Now next, da chirama da dodibe kansa takjirang da dedi da dun zimbati kundal sha kundal tangzil sha da da lo henje le 풍불 wang gyu ge jiao de kansa rangja wa ji da nga lo shirgi yare nga nge lu nge semji lo shirgi do wa da digi any nyomong zachi yaris chine oda ti shukchung tangores mewa sores da telia kansa ta mi sa disumri da de chuji any no nyambe lotigi mikbe nga any pungbul wang ju ge jodo rangja was lo sha de tim mewa ji sam khore ina ya ji 류디도다 직진적이 타네 차단지야 로스도아스 자 심크가다 단디샹야라 마이 롱자장 너이와 덴델 때네 차나지야스도아스 머시다 롱츠버베 마트니지 야마리 삼네 로리아 텐데버 디기 데 다든 트레이닝 마이 심 마이 애니 지다 롱즈 Saro dospa deni sometimes the yare dendegi tone tempede pengri dendegi longchababe nga rangja wadi mindu sambachi da mebe ko yao chawe na ko nga da deni ngai lu ngai any pungum ji ngai ji da 가서 롱주도 세아드 체리 tempede chaba yonsares ine nga da mandre tone ji 지풍금 지식이 처리야야 민니 차단기야도가 대냐고 컨디스 치르레스 라바이나 다데 섬섬바 연전이 최이라면서 샤베리 나 강사가 다도 매와 된적이 다 강사가 다음에 디 토라 애니 풍속이 처 애니 나온다도 매대버지기 다 주야 샤베리 강사가 다음에 더라 최지라면서 셔베 롱저버도 강사가 다음에 즉 롱제제 풍속을 다음에 직신 다 되려야 아니 섬잠배 다 아니 지든 가야 돼다 될리용도 즉 소속을 전쟁문에 이것이 나온대야 다디 아마리스 다디 퀀텀 피지스 샤다 찍버려셔 저 섬잠배 아니 송진이 이동 그때 권한이 순두잖아요. 아니 치송 답변은 변은 속도 붙여잖아. 이 송진 미식 리아 속나에 찬에 속사 샤브레스 파자는 이야기네요 말이지. 간다 속속 최디디 런진 떡배 아니 간에 박샤 세 그다 간다 이니지 그게 좀 보소르다 Zimbabwe, da digi, da namshi dil, any ta, Kunshi namshi sadin, Kazakish Chungsong, or that is a tone, Kada namshi thing, Paja sen, Renzin, Geloti, thing, Paja set of the Suso Yuti, Nangamado, Sukchi to the Joyamaris, China order, Sumod Zimba, Zatadeva, Ni Meba, Sumechudi, Zimbe Namdog Dene, Paja Shateva Chis, Paja Doki, number Shateva some race. So much to Joyamaris, that Dike Chevy. That is controversy. Dada Rotiku.
So, according to the philosophical schools of Vaibhashika and Sotantikas, what they say is that, this notion of a self, which is permanent, single, and autonomous, is something which is called acquired kind of misconception. Whereas there is an innate misconception of a self, which is, they say, it's this sense of a self which we have this notion of a self which is like ruling the psychophysical aggregates. And so because of that, the rest of the negative emotions, the mental afflictions and so forth also arise. And therefore, they say in order to reduce this and finally eliminate it, we need to actually understand there is no such a self. No, what is known as the substantially self-sufficiently existing self, which is like a ruler or two of the psychophysical aggregates. And they therefore call this the selflessness of a person. And so having said that, if you ask them, of course, in relation to the sense of an I, we have a notion, this is mine, and, my body, my resources, wealth, and so forth. But then how about doing away with this sense of a self, which has, which is not related to this notion of an I, and so on the basis of which we can also have attachment, anger, hatred, and so forth. So how to counter that kind of a sense of a self? And then therefore here Chittamatras come to say that. Of course, the Chittamatra and the higher schools of philosophy within Buddhism say that apart from a selflessness of persons, there is also selflessness of phenomena as well, which is related to the selflessness with regards to the psychophysical aggregates, not the person or the self, but the psychophysical aggregates and the resources and so forth. And so the Chittamatras, what they say is that there is no external, there are things that exist externally. And so their view of rejection of any externality to things is similar to the modern quantum physics idea of no objective existence of things. And so what the Chittamatras assert is that they assert this non-duality of subject and object. And so, for example, if you have a physical object, which is the object of one's own visual consciousness, and so the object and the visual consciousness, this physical object and the visual consciousness, are not. There's no duality between these two. Why? Because they say that the fact that the physical object appears to your visual perception is because of a certain imprint that is left in our mind. And yesterday we did touch on this topic of alaya vijnana. And so this foundational consciousness, or the mind basis of all. And so this is the consciousness on which all the imprints from the past life or this life are which carries all those imprints. And because of those imprints, we have the perceptions of physical objects, and this is the reflection of the perception of that physical object. And therefore, for the Chittamatras, the object, the physical object on the sight, and the visual perception are non-dual in the sense that they are not substantially different. And so they say this, they talk about the non-duality of the subject and object. And so this, according to the Chittamatras, is could be understood in terms of the selflessness of phenomena.
다 드네게 떠르되게 치유 속소 라 아테근 짐베 겜베 차단게야라 바지디 치유전을 좀 여마레슬라베이나 짐베 땡네 바자사 도시마도 그게 여마레슬라베이나 최면 편서와 다이네 녀의 디도디 쉐바란 게 땡네 녀의 디도 연구로다 다 데려야 차단게야 디 디판도 와 하다 짐베 남도 코레가네 지 디도 초 정용데 버텔라 아테근 집을레 인도산에 치즈 여마르슬라베네 페마송 자자가 단 넘리베 치든가 쉐바 된주셔야지 자 따지 캡처부지 저기야 말해 자 따지리 인도산에 치송하다 난 짐바 니가로 때버 못 버렸어야 그 우메 따와데 따들에 서울시 말해
So, of course, when the Chittamatras say that there is no externality to the things, it may help in countering our attachment to things which we perceive as being outside of us. But then, how would it actually counter the emotions such as attachment, anger, hatred that are within ourselves? There are internal experiences. So, Chittamatra view can help to counter the attachment towards things that are outside of us, but then how does it actually counter the emotions, negative emotions within ourselves, the internal experiences? And to this, of course, there is the Madhyamaka philosophical school, which says that things do not have any independent existence on the one hand, whether they talk about externality or not, and they we can counter the attachment and so forth when we think about things having no independent existence outside or internally, and therefore the Madhyamaka view, which says that which asserts on the one hand maybe there is no externality to things, and internally also because the subjective mind itself, the perception and cognition and so forth, which also do not have any independent existence, that can counter the attachment, internal attachment.
배나 송아 속도 파 차샤파 친 차제 모임베 참이치 샤토함도 와 봐. 고타르는 düzen 집이 있네 고 초지차 왜 차실 집이 있네 고 여여랑 싫어 고 여여랑 신도잖아 고 요스르잖아 고 도스 드라이치 봐 그래서 그 가르쳐내 고 든징을 차치다 겹징을 차 그러다 그 연대로 다들 인도 참이 전에 믿어 그러다 사들 인도 차산이 중대버지기 들 인도 전에 다 아도 관람 페이지에 다가라네 고도 봐봐봐봐봐 자 인도 전에 다 듀트로 가치 거의 니야메 차이즈는 이 치료 민도사지 샤용기야리 와다 디르버디 나 시벌 소자리네 찍어두그레스 시바 수미 수jem 민두산에 초지 차다 여마르디 뒤응의지 차여레스 자 끼징의지 차여레스 자상고 대배차 마홍배차 대배차는 가버래 마홍배차는 중주리 다다와들이 다다와서도 봐봐 지치면 있는 지 다다와 콜레 che가 대봐 che가 마음과 다다서 그렇게 이해합니다. 즉 시바 기진 것이 자체로서는 시바 다다서 저 하려면 이해합니다. 그러다 유리고 녀에 등이 최대 다다에 되는 상담마도 그 내면 가서를 전배 유리 마음과의 중조리 자꾸 도우스와 따뜻한 자니 그러다 기진 것이 자신 따뜻한 치유 숙소 그쵸 초아지 자신은 이해하면 나시 나 심기에 기진 것이 자체는 이해 켜는 거.
So, with regard to the physical things or matter, what we can understand is that if you break the things down into the smaller called parts and down to the smallest called units, we find that there is nothing which is particle as such. So with regard to the matter, we cannot have things which are partless. Even if you take the subtlest subatomic particles, the fact that something moves shows that there is called kind of a temporal kind of extension, and also there is it shows that when something moves, it shows that there is a part to it which is in the front and part which is in the rear side, and so even when you go into the subtlest particles like that, the subatomic particles, we cannot find anything which is partless, indivisible, and so forth. And so this is similar to what the scientists also say, that when they actually look at the subatomic particles, I mean in anything, when they look at anything, they actually don't find anything having any objective existence as such. And so just as the matter outside does not have anything that is partless, likewise with regard to the internal world of experience of consciousness, and also because it changes moment by moment. I mean, there's nothing which is partless also. And so when you take an experience of consciousness, an internal experience within yourself, you can say, oh, I have this experience, I had this experience, which is a past experience, and then you can say, I may have this experience which is a future one, and then you also talk about, I'm having this experience. But when you talk, the moment you say this experience in the present, what you can find is that this also is changed. And so half of it is already gone and half yet to come. And so in this way, both in the world of physical, matter, as well as the internal world of consciousness, does not have anything which we can say is partless.
Oh yeah. 세상다 우마베 우마바 낭세 한면다 요래. ene da zo dengo 바보 루루기 시진기 공부디 마 짜인도 자네 시로인고 우다가 속 동보니 소소소를 동보니 샤마니 동보니를 저 소샤마니 노사게 어다 직디기다 단다데 마 소연도 아니 대니 속 동보니 소소사 직디기 아니 자 동바사 계제디 때네 딱 계제래 마도 쟤네 많이 베지고 말이스 때네 딱 되리스 라 tension driven 중화가 되는 동반이도 시 되는 때네 다고도 되니 우면 라미노스 저는 어디 송샤다디 시진기 공부에 지치고 자셔버리셔 저는 속 동보스 아주 통대하고 속속 최대이디 다들 전에 이야기야 말이스 속 동보스 동반이 속속스럽데 다들 전에 니좀 매버지 인도 전에 아니 그 셴라 때네 작배권에 이해되어지 차버려. 근데 인도 동반이 속속스. 엔디슈데 솔로 동반이 시험이 동반이 수시만 있는 대니 뭐 집어도 송도가. 자상가 배고 홀루루기 때는 딱고 균제도 제대 원이지 뭐 줘버렸어. 매백에서 말했어. 때는 딱고 인상 요랬어. 하다 때는 딱고 인상 나와도 주요 말했어. 자, 때 되니까 이제 쉬우지. 세고 쉬우송도 와. 어디지? 자, 뒤에 인도자네 근시 땡중문이 비 청거에 보면 이 뒤에 동보문이 비 청거에 보면 이 노스. 지글시.
So within the Madhyamaka philosophical system, there are, of course, sub-schools within it, and different assertions are there amongst the Madhyamakas. But when we take Master Nagarjuna's position of in the Madhyamaka philosophical system, Master Nagarjuna, when he comments or explicates the meaning of the Perfection of Wisdom Sutras, in one of the Perfection of Wisdom Sutras, in fact, the Heart Sutra says, form is emptiness, and emptiness is form. Form is not other than emptiness, and emptiness too is not other than form. How Master Nagarjuna explains this is, he says, whatever is dependently originated is said to be empty. And that itself is said to be designated, and that is the middle way. So what he says is that when Buddha says the form is empty, this is not a rejection of form or physicality of things, but that the form or the physical object arises in dependence on other factors. And therefore, the form is empty of any inherent or independent existence, which is to say that it does not arise or come into being without depending on other factors. And then it's called when the Heart Sutra says that emptiness is form. What this shows is that things. It doesn't mean that since things are unfindable, therefore it's empty. But what you have to understand is that since things are unfindable, when we do critical analysis and search for their identity, although things cannot be found, when you put them under this kind of a critical lens of searching for their identity, yet things are there, physical objects are there because they're dependently arisen. And so this is how Master Nagarjuna understands this phrase of form is empty, emptiness is form. And then having said these two, the Heart Sutra, the next two statements say that form is not other than emptiness, and emptiness too is not other than form, means that they are, in fact, emptiness of form and form are of the same essence or nature.
Oh, yeah.
And therefore, Master Nagarjuna, what you have to understand is because of the reason of dependent arising, dependent origination of things, that things can actually exist while they are empty. And therefore, Master Nagarjuna says, since there is nothing which is not dependent, therefore there's nothing which is not empty.
관계 땡진 저번중 통대 통대is 동해당 군중당은 고바다 람 하자다 람이자 통인스 다 드리샤 땡진 저번중 세하게 대셔도 되는데 땡신 남샤데 지침 셔야지 데 에니스 su tongbo tongbo ni su su sa de de ni ngo ye me ke shen do sma dan na da wa yin bo jun zhen de de ngo ni zhe dong da de de ma du xian yun de go den de de ga ne ani lo le de ge do wa cha sang ga dan xin de bo ju me ten chi ji ma lo wa nge ba de gi zhen den de gi chong go tang bo song ya ge dong he de bo gun ju de bo go ba de bo lam ye de bo de che ju me da su ju ru sa de ji chi bo de xie jiu ya ji da 단다로 샤트야지 영하도가
So, as Master Nagarjuna also says in the Mula Madhyamaka Karika, so one who is able to see dependently originated things can actually understand those of the Four Noble Truths, the Noble Truth of suffering, origination of suffering, and origin of suffering, and then true cessation and true path. And so what this shows is that because of dependent origination, we can understand what the Buddha has taught in the first sermon, which is the sermon on the Four Noble Truths, that things come into being through dependent origination on causes and conditions and so forth. And therefore, when you understand dependently originated nature of things, you can understand the suffering origin, and particularly that of the called true cessation, which is brought about by the true path. And in other words, when you understand that of the dependent origination well, what you can understand
나왔다 대셔 배시 차오르셔 되게 싫은 용수야들이 저다 디탄에 아니 냥대 주야데 배시도 디탄에 연거래 다 디야 고불루고 싸우시도 나려야 아니 레다 녀모 세베 탈바도 뭐였어 탈바세야 가래 레다 녀모 봐 그게 또 동행이 싸워 아니 사제기다 레 코펜치 사제기래 대자와 녀모 된제기다 레다 녀모 봐 녀부께베 떠기 라르 깨미론도치 라르 베게다 중앙에 된제지 차소나 때때로 탈바세리스 레다 녀모 세베 탈스 워나 디 컨디션 거르슬라베이나 디 점제 컨디션슬라나 레당 시보코의 동해디 레지왕 총월이 레디 녀모왕 총월이스 레당 녀모인데 남사 덴질이 총월슬라나 그냥 남사 가서 로를 시켜기면 되고 레당 녀모 남돌레스 그러다 녀모 이동을 민니 당돌레 하장 타직도 셴베 되샤 이름명을 겹기 전에 봐 민두바 기아치기 된대기 롯데 취미지가 남도를 때는 총알이었어. 다디 쉬우지 세버려서 레다 녀모 남도레스 다디 한다 내가 워싱베 아다 아메리게 디지 거다다 그 생각을 좀 해주지 또 미콘트롤하네 콘트롤세니 심 투댕이 밀리아 주도 증행시레샤 코란로 로주라 가시는 독스 코란 프로페셔널 디제도가 거기 디스도 시장 잡을라네 아니 시장 계세 유디 나윤도 전에 하장 믿고 싶은 거리스 디자저 고주타바 남도 시장랑에 시장 규를 등에 강상 코란 게 남도 최샤마도 템퍼레멘트스 어디 보고 디스도 단디 안다 취미지가 남도 좋다네 중부서 됐어요 쉬우시죠
So the Buddha first gave the teaching on the Four Noble Truths, and then later he gave teachings on the perfection of wisdom discourses. And within the teaching of the Four Noble Truths also, there is the teaching on the, what is known as the 12 links of dependent origination. And so, so according to this, the 12 links of dependent origination, what it shows is how the causes and conditions of samsara gives rise to our suffering, the various types of suffering and so forth. And then we also need to understand within that, of the how suffering and its origin can be ended. And so, with regard to the called elimination of suffering, Master Nagarjuna says, by eliminating or by exhausting karma and afflictions, mental afflictions, when you end them, then there is that of liberation. And so karma here refers to those of the impure or uncontaminated karma, and then which created because of our mental afflictions, negative emotions, and so forth, which are the roots of these karmas. And so when you are able to develop the antidote to these negative emotions, and then what you can do is you can actually eliminate those negative emotions or mental afflictions from within your mind to such a degree that they no more come back in your mind stream. And so that is what is known as liberation. And so Master Nagarjuna says, continues in this verse, saying that the karma and these mental afflictions arise through conceptual constructs. So what he means is, when we see something attractive or unattractive, what happens to us is we actually cling on to that attractiveness as if it's something out there, objectively, independently, and therefore becomes attached to the thing.
Now here, my friend, one American scientist, when I first met him, his age, 84. So a lot of experience helping people who really experience a lot of stress, a lot of anger. So he advised, he treated such a person. Then through few decades, his conclusion is when people feel very sort of full of anger, the object which they feel angry appears very negative. But actually, 90% of that negativeness is mental projection. This is exactly Nagarjuna stated that. That mental projection comes on the basis of appearances, or there is truth. Objectively, the object side, something independent, absolute, negative, or pleasant or unpleasant. That creates the attachment and anger. So now, the Oda di teta trele sa charta tenzingi namdo ki wangi tenjing ngene yebchi trebe na sha de telechungres teta trele trebe ni tongpo ni ji ngabo juru se jara jara ina lamden che nelu chi shin shebe lo degi nelu lo mongbe nelu lo chi lo do tokbe gengi namdo sha de badidi Any Kawanga Ruslona Tongbo ni to Gabanjurusaki Nishisu Sharina De Kulon Shingat Sungu Leja call Nidus Tongbo Niki Gabanjurus Jetache Tongbo ni to Gabanjusat Jetachana Lamde the tōngwa nī tūsina laba yīna, nīshī sōru chāri yīna, gōgdēn shēk tuwa, chā cik tī nīwa shimu shirāri shā. Tā tī sēkyō kyōna tī, zāwishir nāli yā, nāni, dōshā shirā tī mūsum, nāmbar tōglin chōng, sōng shēne, lūngu trūpchī shē. Tā tī trūpchī tī mā sō yundu zāne, dūgdu mī tū chīnchī lō, tēmbā lāni chōng yurus. Yu, yī tū wōngwa nāmbar tōgmē pā, namdōgu tōtāni. Tele ndecha yu mituwa dala che mituwa pe le tani tele ni shidan jia chung dus se tu song duo san zhe da zhe le zhe ban de dongguan ni jing ga wan jiu dongguan ni song ga wan jiu sa zhe di xiu jin de qiu re ce sang ge de ji de ha ba cao shi men zhe na lu zhu xian zhang re lu zhu zao shi de be xiu ji kai shi bu zhe ge zhe de ge xian men zhe en lurugu di tendu zan, tongyu zane, da samsame songzi nidong, gale shibu shen she jik zhusha, shidung guaya sa zhitaydi, gale mewe gale de sam chanyu kei ne. Da lurugu domjik gyan songyu de da hade bera towa, shibu zhisha.
And so, to continue with the teaching, when the American psychiatrist Aaron Beck said that there is this, when we are angry, you become, you see the person or the thing totally negative, but then 90% of it that is mentally projected. So this actually is very similar to Master Nagarjuna saying that our negative emotions, these mental afflictions, arising from that of a what is known as mental construct, or there's this particular term, perhaps the inappropriate meditation. And so that gives rise to our attachment and anger and so forth. And that itself is actually rooted in this clinging to some kind of independent objective existence in things. And therefore, the Master Nagarjuna says, this inappropriate meditation or the conceptual construct is rooted in, that arises from this fabrication. And fabrication is ended by that of emptiness. And so with regard to this the final line, fabrication is ended by emptiness, or the wisdom realizing emptiness. In the Sanskrit version of the text, my teacher, Kunalama, the master from Kinor, Kunalama Tenzin Gyatsen Rinpoche, has said that the Sanskrit line can be actually interpreted in two ways. One is to say that the fabrication, which is this clinging to independent existence or true existence in things, is ended by wisdom, which shows that of the agent which brings about the cessation, which is to say the true path. And so when you take this as an instrumental case, then it refers to the the agent, which is the true path, which gives rise to the realizing emptiness. And then when you actually take this as a case of in another case, which could be translated as, in the Sanskrit version, according to the Sanskrit version, that same line can be read as, this fabrication is ended within, or dissolved within the emptiness. So when you take interpret it in that way, then this refers to that of the true cessation, which is brought about by the true path. And so Master Nagarjuna further goes on to clarify this point when he says in Mula Madhyamaka Karika that desire, anger or hatred and delusion are said to be, are stated to arise from conceptual construct. So with these two lines, he's actually, trying to quote Buddha's scriptures. And then as a reason to this, to prove that, he goes on to say that because of this inappropriate thinking of things being attractive, or unattractive objectively. I mean, there is this misconception within ourselves, which is called the inappropriate mentation. And so, no, do me to change it. Oh, no.
What did it go? Chicken.
So when we have desire or anger, what happens is there is this exaggerated way of looking at things, being attractive objectively independently or unattractive objectively independently. And therefore, because of that kind of a fabrication or that kind of a superimposition on things, we become angry or attached. And so when I reflect on these the teachings of Master Nagarjuna, perhaps it may have to do with some kind of a sense of passion, with Master Nagarjuna's philosophical tradition. I feel that, the Chittamatras, the mind-only school of thought of Buddhism, trying to, prove that there is no external things, no externality to things. I mean, by using all kinds of reasonings, which in the end doesn't really stand, they're not able to, stand to the test of reasoning. I feel that they're taking lots of pains for really nothing.
Oh, yeah. And that did what? Tenam Shing, the Namche Shebe, Namdu Yuba Moinsing, Tele Shandu Yuban, she then Tabakwana Yabins. Yujimuna, Dagdan, Zon and Yamache, Chisua in it, Nanzba in it, Zon and Yamache. On a panel to us, do Tanya to Tabawang Yoris. Susanne, Chisua the Nanzba Yachawa Kimanua. Saturday Duzane, Bengaluru, Umetawa, Sonia, the huge Moynesula, the Moynesu Yindenge, Moynesu Yimbatigi, Yimbatam to Masebe, Maranzo, Chadang, Yomotia, the local Tata, Nothing store. Chazanga, today you go to Rijitanalia, Umarijitanala, Danitani Jidendi, Lami Chanju Tomdana, Teza or Chanjusem, Rawanja or Tatatans, Chanjusem teacher. Chonde to be, these are chonde to be Ninchiche. Nilamite Yishis Tuni Daughter. Or the Nambi Truya get that top. Ninchis our give a Chanjusem da, Tuni Daughter, and Yamlicha, so the shortest is sorry.
And so when we analyze things, for example, in the case of a chariot, as it is mentioned in Madhyamaka Avatara by Master Chandrakirti, he says that when you analyze or search, for the identity of a chariot, and using what is known as the sevenfold reasoning, nothing whatever, it's the parts of the chariot or the composite, the fact that the parts are put together and this assemblage of them and so forth can be found to be as the chariot. But having said that, he says, because of worldly convention, and we can still say, although chariot cannot be found, when you search for that identity in the parts and so forth, yet the chariot can be asserted through worldly renown or conventions. And so what this actually gives us is that although things do not have any independent objective existence as such, yet we can actually talk about this being this being that, and so forth. And so the understanding of the lack of any independent existence, yet saying that, while saying that the things have conventional existence, actually, tallies with reality itself. And so the understanding also counters our negative mental afflictions as well, such as attachment, lust, anger, and so forth. And so to sum up, Master Nagarjuna also says in the Ratnavali, the jewel garland or precious garland, he says that if oneself and others, for oneself and others, one wishes to attain the highest enlightenment, what one needs to cultivate are the threefold practices, which he refers to as the bodhicitta, and then the compassion, this limitless compassion, and then the non-dual wisdom. So with these, with the combination of the compassion or bodhicitta and the wisdom realizing emptiness, what we can do is that we can actually overcome our delusions and negative emotions and attain our goal.
So, according to my own experience, the practice utilize our intelligence fully and think the reality, shunyata. Really immense help to, to reduce, to weaken the negative emotion. Really wonderful. My own case, I think, last over 60 years, over 70 years, when I was in Tibet, I studied. I already developed the interest about the concept of shunyata, Madhyamika philosophy. Then, after I reached India, I daily basis thinking. And particularly last 15, 20 years, I seriously thinking, really affect my emotion. Wonderful. That's practical result. Then combined with altruism, which mainly relying on Shantandeva's book. Yesterday I mentioned. Wonderful, wonderful. So Nagarjuna's Madhyamika Avtara, right?
Mula Madhyamika Karika.
Madhyamika Mula Karika. And Kasachuti. Shantandeva's book. These two books really, I think I may say, provide me best weapon to stalker inner enemy, that is self-centered attitude and grasping as appears, as appears. So these two, the ultimate sort of source of all negative emotion. So I really feel, in my daily practice, you see a lot of sort of the visualization, different deities, like Guhisamanza, Hiroka, Yamandaga, and Hebantra, many sort of the
deity yoga practice.
Deity yoga practice, not much effect. Thinking, analyze these two things really transform my emotion. So you also, my brothers, sisters, you also, it's the same human being. It's the same potential. So now study these things in order to transform our emotion. And this very life become something, Kasoda, the meaningful life, and also share with other people, then it is guarantee for next life will be same because of the fortunate life. Right? Like that. So now important, the teacher, in this case, I am supposed teacher. Teacher also spent a lot of years, so you should not expect, over one night, you become Buddha. Nonsense. We need years, decades effort. As I mentioned yesterday, combination, understanding from hearing, understanding through analytical, analyze, and then third level experience, then some experience. So that really then is the effect of emotion. That's the way. So now, kala lunch? So, now sorry. I think one or two questions, I think.
The mic is right here in front, so just one or two questions. And in the interest of time, keep your questions short.
Yes.
Namaste, His Holiness. My question is, what is compassion? We as a human being, we are born with compassion, as we are wired to be compassionate, or is it something that somebody has to teach us how to be compassionate?
No. Compassion as a social animal, biologically, we already have the sense of concern of others. But usually, that sort of sense of caring, sense of concern of others' well-being is very much mixed with attachment. So that kind of compassion cannot extend to strangers and particularly to enemy. So therefore, that compassion is biased and very much mixed with attachment. So now, what kind of compassion which we are talking is unbiased, particularly that sort of sense of compassion towards your enemy, or same sort of strong feeling or well-being of them. That compassion is unbiased compassion. And that kind of compassion comes through practice, reasoning, meditation, analytical meditation. So as I mentioned yesterday, Shantadeva's 6th chapter create foundation of that. And then 8th chapter mentioning infinite altruism. Like that. Next question?
I'm a liver transplant surgeon, and I heard you say brain death. After brain death, there is consciousness. How do you interpret organ donation? I want to ask this because it's an organ donation day tomorrow.
It's very good. You see, protect the patient's life. And then there are many cases in the past, the genuine practitioner, they give their eyes or their physical organs. Now today, heart plantation also, you see, possible. So if they give whole brain then we have to calculate if my life, something useful, worthy to, because alive,
Live a life. Live a life.
live a life, then you have to think very, very seriously. Then also you see, think seriously. The person who you're supposed going to give your brain, his or her life also something good, then okay, give your brain. But the other person, you see, not very sure. Just a life, but create a lot of problem to other. Then better to die. So, gabashane chevachas, junjunong sunatri, kabai ne pendok chishung samtang warwa.
So the point he's trying to make is you need to check and see the pros and cons of what you are doing, which is, I mean, if you do something, whether there's greater benefit or greater harm. If it's greater benefit, you should go on. And if it's a greater harm to the other person, then you should not do it. So
next question.
In any situation.
Your Holiness, you mentioned yesterday that our purpose of life is to be happy.
Yes.
How do we help, I mean, especially us, we at the Conrad, we live 24/7 to make people happy. How do you make everybody happy at the same time? How?
I think, according to my own little experience, firstly smile. And for me, you see, no stranger, when I met, you see, any person, whether Kasuda, when they introduce me, I feel unnecessary. So long showing human face, a human brother, sister. So immediately, you see, I, Kasuda, I show my affection, my smile. And then sometimes, you see, particularly the police with the uniform, when I smile, they not respond, smile. Then what I do is, itlukasati. Tickle. Oh, then most cases they smile. So like that, you see, it's much better. Whether know each other before or not, simply, same human brothers, sisters. I want a happy life. They also want a happy life. As I mentioned yesterday, 100% we are same. So, some holy people remain, which is very, very, very calm. I don't like that. So actually, my practice, as I mentioned yesterday, my physical, my voice, my mind, dedicated well-being of other. That's part of my practice of bodhicitta. That also, not just one life, till space remain, I dedicate it like that. Yes, next question.
Your Holiness, I asked this question in today's context. As a race, we Indians have always been peace-loving, and our effort has always been not to capture others' territory. But in today's context, what is happening is that, you know, everyone is focused on taking over each other's territory, and isn't that kind of in contradiction with what we Indians have believed, that our belief is that we need to preserve our territory and defend it according to what we legitimately feel is ours. But in today's context, like we are always told we need to prepare for war and, you know, be always on alert. So does our wisdom in that sense match up to today's context?
I think national sovereignty also is important. Then in this case, in India's case, I think you have wonderful tradition, wonderful knowledge, and religious harmony. I think this must protect. Okay?
Your Holiness, in the recent past, based on my observation, the religion has been divided into two. Elitist, religion for elitists and religion for the common people. So there is a virtual gap between these elitists and the common people. While the elitists choose the peace, meditation and other ways, the common people have chosen hatred and violence. So how do you bring in a common path where both elitists and the common people believe in something which religion can offer?
Kasa.
Because mi travel reading the chairs or chidan mi travel because of good out of this yacht you get up your you know lots of harine you want that you go me chair yana mi kume chair such can cha to dinner
no I don't think all major religious tradition dealing with our emotion is concerned the people from upper class, so-called upper class and lower class, same. The way to born, same way. The way to die, same way. Isn't it? So therefore, all major religious tradition dealing with basic human value. So no problem. Yesterday, I think I mentioned today, make sort of kasoda, different caste.
No.
That's outdated. That's very much related with the feudal system. Outdated. We must sort of make effort equal. Buddha himself is from one small prince.
Family.
Princely. But then after he also become Buddhahood, he remained like very, very ordinary monk. There's no record Buddha's kitchen, Buddha's sort of private kasota account. Nothing. He just carry a baking bowl and receive with the other monk. He remained like beggar. So most of the religious leader, and modern time, I think Mahatma Gandhiji, not the religious leader, but he, in spite the thorough modern education, lawyer, his life is like ordinary Indian, like that. So there is no sort of different religions according different
social status.
Social status, no.
Your Holiness, it's an honor to seek your guidance on this. So when we speak about compassion, we do practice compassion towards other people, but when it comes to non-human beings, in the name of tradition, in the name of food, in the name of culture, in the name of clothing, we perform unspeakable atrocities, and we are so conditioned to be okay with it that how do we deal with this, and is there any way we can make it any better? Because the world seems to be blind to it, at least most of it right now.
The limitless fish, animal, birds, I think too much because of the cruel, millions of animals. I think firstly, we should develop a clear sort of realize these small insects also have their life and feeling of pains and pleasure, and understand that, then restrain harming them. My own case is sometimes during sort of sound sleep, then mosquito come. Then sometimes I do that. Otherwise, we always pray entire sentient being. And I think world, I think too much of the consumption meat, fish, egg, like that. I think the most of our bigger monastic institution, they are common kitchen, they are serving only vegetarian food. And then also you see a small center in Europe or America, Tibetan Buddhist center. I suggest them, you see, individual up to them, but as a sort of group, some festival or these things should serve vegetarian food.
Thank you.
So we must make effort, promotion of vegetarianism. Like that.
Thank you.
So India, you see, Indian vegetarian food, very delicious. So this now must sort of expand, export other country. As far as vegetarian food is concerned, the Chinese vegetarian, not much tasteful. Indian vegetarian food is very good, isn't it?
Your Holiness, you spoke about mental projections and how 90% of our emotions are about whatever we are projecting in front. Also, you spoke about the quantum mechanics, the impermanence and everything. So I want to understand so most of it, since it is projection, so what do we consider as real? What is your definition of reality? What should I consider? Okay, this is real and this is projection.
Yes.
Quantum physics
I think the reality realize when our mind more normal, peaceful, then we can investigate the reality through various angles. So when we experience anger, then that ability is cannot function.
We cannot the brain cannot function to judge
when
right now.
Negative emotion come, and our mind too much biased. So with that moment, we can't see. We cannot investigate. So I think often, you see, happen, a moment or day you lost your temper. Then the anger diminish, you feel regret. Do you happen? No. So when anger develops, it's normal, our thinking no longer functions properly. Like that. So most of the destructive emotion is very much related with ignorance. So ignorance is just the opposite sort of because of the grasping the reality. Reality, nothing independently exists. But when emotion come, very basis of appearances, something independently exists. Okay. Next question.
His Holiness, Ahimsa Paramo Dharma is what Buddhism teaches us. But there are many countries which follow Buddhism. Burma, Thailand, Sri Lanka, we see a lot of violence over there. In the words of Kanji Paramacharya, Sri Chandrasekharendra Saraswati, he says Buddhism is suited for higher souls, not everybody. And that is the reason why there is bloodshed and military intervention in these countries. So my question is, how far Buddhism is suited in the modern world?
I think Buddhism, one of ancient Indian religion, and the very much emphasis non-violence and respect secular principle. And then wisdom side, maybe I have some little sort of the prejudice way.
No.
Prejudice. But I think the quantum physics part of Buddhist philosophy. That's Raja Ramana, Indian nuclear physicist. Once he told me, in the West, quantum physics is something new. In this country, 2,600 years ago, already developed quantum physics. So, I think the Indian philosophical sort of field, I think this country, I think much sort of advanced before Buddha come, even before Buddha come, 2,000, 3,000 years ago. So I think I think the complicated philosophical view, I think, kept Nalanda tradition. So now, the person who knows something about a Nalanda tradition, you see, we can equally discuss with scientists like that. So these are, I think, worthwhile to preserve. Okay, next question.
The last question, please.
Your Holiness, this is like I'm 12 here and I'm the only kid, I guess. So Mike.
Yes.
So there was this day in my school where everybody had to like we got an international country and we had to act as a person in that. So I was selected to be Dalai Lama.
계급 담은 저기 미지 임버전 디기 지난다 붙이 탑된다 붙이 이디 그런 랍데나는 자원치 디 임버치 탑고에 총선스.
That's good.
Yeah, well, so I did a lot of research. I had to like listen to a lot of your speeches for that, and well, I got a good comments, a lot of them. So my main question was, do you practice compassion, and how do you practice compassion?
Compassion.
As I mentioned earlier, you see, yesterday also, the one great was the Nalanda master, 8th century. He's writing the Kasa,
Bodhisattvacharya Avatar. Bodhisattvacharya Avatar.
Bodhisattvacharya Avatar. That book, I think, since he wrote, I think that book remained best book about practice of compassion, as I mentioned earlier. So you read that and combine with your own experience. Okay? So when you acting like Dalai Lama, smile, more smile. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, next question. Sarve.
No.
Thank you.